Hello, everybody. Just be waiting a few more minutes just for everybody to be able to join in. Just be waiting 2 more minutes and we'll get underway. See a few more people just filing in. We'll get underway in about 1 minute from now. It usually just takes a moment sometimes for GoToWebinar to join. Get going in about 30 seconds, but just as the last few people join in, just some quick housekeeping rules that we'll do for the webinar. This is a brief 15, 20-minute webinar because we really like to distill these messages from the field, these main reasons why a large uptake of our customers have chosen CoreView. So we'll be running through this. There will be slides, but you are welcome to listen to a recording of this as a podcast or something like that. I'm trying to design them like this, but the idea is to keep the message really just to the point and really just where it's going to help our customers and get the most value from this as a package. So if there's any questions or anything like that, please put them in the control panel component. I'll be answering them at the end of the webinar because, again, the core of it is just to run through and so that you can share this amongst your teams, maybe share it to some of the salespeople that you have in your organization, maybe even sort of use this information for your clients. And I'm also going to be sharing the slides for this presentation because I think these are quite succinct and powerful to help your customers understand where they need to be, as the title suggests, cyber resilient for Microsoft 365, but where we can describe that to them so they can understand why this really matters. So anyway, with those housekeepings underway, please put the questions at the end. I'll send through a recording, I'll send through the slides afterwards, but we'll get underway. So I'll introduce myself. My name is Kris Hansen, and I am the Channel Director for Asia Pacific for CoreView. I've been with the company for a couple of years now. We've got a large team of professionals all around the world that have been dedicated, focused on Microsoft 365 management with CoreView. In a sentence, for those that have not used this before, this is what we try to provide. We provide end-to-end Microsoft 365 management for yourselves, for your customers. We recognize that M365 is a beast. It is a huge platform of applications, of connections, and I'll talk about that a little bit in today's presentation. What CoreView's mission is to do is to be able to consolidate and help you get that under control. And with that, this is what we want to describe to you today with what has really been resonating with a lot of our customers as a platform that sets us apart in the marketplace and in technology, being that really true end-to-end M365 management platform, it's the business application of that, and really where that gets the most ROI is where we see around the term cyber resilience. Yeah, and this is what we've got across the top here. And we define cyber resilience as being able to anticipate, withstand, and recover from attacks in Microsoft 365 and Entra. Being that end-to-end management, all the way from your configuration of your tenant, all the way to the day-to-day management, automation, inbuilt remediation of issues, having that end-to-end solution where our customers have come back to us as well, and really where it's given the most amount of ROI is having that single solution to be able to put over that massive Microsoft 365 footprint that your customers have, and being able to give them that almost defensibility against attacks and against breaches, against issues with Microsoft 365 and Entra. In order to build a similar type of solution, we've found with any other solution, they may handle specific points of this problem. But why everyone takes up CoreView is because it gives you that single platform to be able to do this across the entire Microsoft 365 tenancy. Some of our competitors might only focus on one of these points. So you're building out 5, 6 solutions. If you were trying to match this, that's 5 or 6 bills, 5 or 6, technology stacks that you have to maintain. You have to educate yourself. We want to be able to consolidate you to be able to manage all of your customers centrally with one platform for their entire Microsoft 365 footprint. And I'll talk a little bit about later, even multi-tenant management of Microsoft 365 footprints for your customers as well. So what I want to do is I'm going to start this off, and I want to talk about this at the start and at the end, what we see the levels that we can look at to make sure, again, that you can anticipate, withstand, and recover from attacks in Microsoft 365. So the first is tenant compromise. So somebody's exfiltrating data out of your customers' tenancies. There's access that those outside actors are going to use in order to cause problems, to cause havoc, to cause outages with your customers' M365, for them to lose data and for them to have breach incidents. What we want to do is, again, our platform is going to, using the Microsoft stack that the customer has paid for, being able to enforce all the standards that Microsoft are now requiring, or they're now recommending. We give you the ability to be able to enforce these at scale. So again, you can read the screen here, accounts without MFA, conditional access, Entra misconfigurations, we can standardize those, Defender misconfigurations, being able to deploy Defender standard and automatically with best practice settings. We can do that, and we can keep them configured correctly. We can detect changes. And also Entra apps as well with external access. This is a very unknown issue, and I'm just going to branch off very quickly. You can, for free, you can go onto our website, and there is an Entra app scanner. You can download that right now while I'm talking. There's a free scanner. You can run that on a customer's network, run it on your own machine if you'd like to. It's really just PowerShell that's going to give you a nice graphical report, which is actually going to show you the Entra apps that are connected to the tenancy that you're on. So this is great to be able to see if anybody in the past, whether or not it's another provider, another IT man, sometimes it's just users with elevated privileges, of connecting to these Entra apps without anybody in administration knowing about it. And then what's happening is then that is full, perhaps even full access to the customer's tenancy, which can be used in order to do these attacks. You need to know what's there. We have a free scanner that shows what's there. You can bring up that report right now while I'm talking. But I'll move on because I'd like to go through this other sections that we handle here. So configuration tampering as well. So this is the actual configurations in Entra, your Intune configurations. We can standardize those and monitor those. We can enable sharing, mail forwarding, even configuration of third-party filtering apps, like so that if you need to be able to put M365 management configuration in so you can configure with other security platforms, we can control that as well. Again, cross-tenant configurations. So many companies, either through an M&A, maybe it's because they have multiple entities, But whatever the reason you may have multiple tenancies across an organization, we can help bring those, standardize them across each other and bring them under control centrally as well. Trying to manage tenancies just with the Microsoft tools that are separate is really just doubling, tripling, sometimes 10x in your workload. We can bring that back under control. And people can turn off auditing as well so they can do damage. And then we get into privilege elevation. So this is where people can find privileged accounts, create privileged accounts with that access that they've got access to, the access levels that they've got access to. Being able to use PowerShell with administration. Again, we want to make sure that we put in a model of least privilege here with the Microsoft accounts that are available. We can even go as far as to be able to limit usage to specific workflows, common tasks in M365 that would normally require admin privileges, but instead we could have those users who maybe should have lower levels of access, but occasionally maybe they need to create users, they need to reset passwords, etc. We can actually have them use the CoreView platform. So again, just to remind you, because there's so many things that we can do here, we position CoreView as one platform that does all these little tasks that usually require little bit part installations or bit part third-party applications. We want to be able to provide all this value to be able to give this single goal of being able to make sure your Microsoft 365 ensure that cyber resilience, that hardening is going to happen. So again, you can anticipate, withstand, and recover from attacks rather than trying to manage this with all these different solutions or trying to just get by with the Microsoft tools that are available, which are not going to be able to scale for you to be able to do it. Ultimately, we want to make sure that we reduce the attacks that you get and the ones that do, that you can recover from. So speaking of recovery, incident response and recovery. Look, we take a backup of the customer's configurations. So that means that we can constantly monitor with those daily backups that we're taking. So we know the configuration every single day into the past. That means that if we ever get a configuration compromise, we don't know when it is, we can always roll back to the last best configuration available. I'll talk a little bit about some stats about this as well, about with a solution to do this, and that you may not be covered in a DR event right now. So this is just on its own a very important part. But, again, Purview, being able to be able to help like set up Purview, but also audit an incident in Purview as well. Reconfigure your Defender, reconfigure your Intune as well. We want to be able to, and again, across tenancies. And just finally, and I want to move on here, there's so many things that we can do here. There's so many angles that you need to be able to manage that, again, keep remembering, CoreView is in place to take care of all these small little angles. Any one of them can have your customer undone here. Again, we want to be able to anticipate, withstand, and recover from those attacks. So again, being able to adapt and improve into the future. So you can always centrally and multi-tenant, you can manage and improve those policies. You can remove any unnecessary access that you've seen over time. And you can audit as well who's had access and who's done changes to the configurations. So if there needs to be able to do audit control, again, our configuration manager has the ability to be able to trace that back. Across the board, so I want to tab through them all. This is where, in these buckets, this is where we enforce, detect, we segment, we can rewind back to best known configuration after an incident. If we don't have faith in the integrity of our current tenant, being able to roll back to the last best known configuration is vital for a DR event. And then minimizing the attack surface. So just what's the scope here that we need to worry about? I'm just going to go through all these animations, excuse me a little bit, but what we're really trying to say here is there's a few misconceptions that I would really want to impart to you here, because we need to impart these to the customers. And this is because a good common question is, I've got by until today with the way things are. Why make a change now? It's because of some misconceptions that after someone's had a breach, they learn very quickly. Do not be the guy who has to explain this after the fact that, oh, sorry, Mr. Customer, we thought we could roll you back quick enough. We thought that there was access, but no, you're suffering a long-term breach that we can't recover from. They're not going to understand. We need to understand the misunderstandings now. We need to understand what's there. So let me say here, and you can see the screen here. So Entra, it's Active Directory on steroids. It's in the cloud, so that means there's internet access to it. It's a digital workplace. There's 18 plus applications built across M365 alone. And it's exposed with many unknown identities being able to access. And now you can put in access control policies, you can put in configurations to control this, but are they implemented across tenancies? How do you know you've done this and haven't left a hole? Because if you've left a hole, you can't just rely on a firewall like you could when it was on premise. There is internet access to here. If there's a hole here, it's straight in. And it's giving access, it's keys to the kingdom to the entire M365 platform, which is where all your customers' data lives and their applications for day-to-day operations. When you go down, the customer is going to fire back at you, and I'm sure everybody on this call has suffered an incident like this. We want to minimize those. And again, wouldn't it be nice when you're dealing with those incidents, if somebody did get in, that you would have the ability to be able to recover quicker? That's what you want to be able to have during an incident as well. And that's what we want to have CoreView in place for, is to show that you're doing that and to mitigate any disasters if they do occur anyway. So that's just a few quick little pieces of data that we really want you to be able to show your customers. Again, I'm sharing the slides here, and this is really just so they know the scale of this. So they understand why they need to buy this and have you implement it for them. So look, at 71% Microsoft tenants, they face 7 successful account takeover attacks per year. All right, this is because it is exposed to the internet. People are pressing into every customer's tenancy they can find all the time. We want to be able to reduce this down. We want to be the most secure house on the street. 79% of increase in configuration tampering during attacks. Hackers are leaving backdoors so they can get back into the M365 tenant when they need to, in case you push them out or in case you do a recovery. What is the worst thing that if you try to do a recovery, maybe it's a ransom attack, maybe it's an extortion attempt, something like that on the customer. Most people go, that's fine, I've got a backup of all their data, I'll just restore. Where are you restoring it to? All right, your backup is well, it's just the data. So you're restoring it to either a compromised tenant or you're restoring it to a blank tenant that you'd have to set up from scratch. And if I go to this next stat, I want to go to ahead here and I'll come back because while I'm on the point here, and this is one of those big misconceptions that we want to solve here. 49% of IT leaders, they think Microsoft has a copy of their old configuration after an incident they can restore to. They do not. Microsoft never purport that they have this. So you are faced during an incident that unless you feel 100%, and you're going to put your IT reputation on this when you're doing a restore after a DR, after a disaster event, sorry, not after a DR. You're going to restore their data to a tenant that you don't know is secure. So they've got a problem, you do a restore, you get back in. Oh, look, they've got a back door in and they've just they've encrypted all that data now as well. Customers down again. What are you going to do? Restore again and have it go down again? You're going to look like your customer is dealing with constant outage here that they can't get out of. Suddenly they're willing to pay ransoms. They're willing to do what it takes to get out of this now, which is going to leave you with the blame. What we want you to be able to do in case of an incident, Microsoft will rebuild you a tenant blank with the same tenant ID. So being able to have a blank tenant that you could restore in case worst case scenario and go, I'm going to restore their configuration when I knew it was safe before that person got in and could have put those backdoors in place, and then I can restore my data to that tenant. I can feel that much better and sleep at night with that. That is resiliency, and that is giving you the ability to get a customer out of trouble during an outage. And that many of you are signing disaster recovery plans with SLAs attached. Think about that for a minute. If somebody else can make sure that when you restore that data, that they can just rip that tenant down again, are you meeting your SLA now? Is this exposing you as a company because of things you've signed off on? Make sure that you've got a backup of the configuration users just for that. But again, keep it resilient. Well, the last point here, and again, I just want to move on. I wanted this to be a nice, quick and succinct message for you guys as well, because again, this is about putting in a single solution to be able to give your customers that cyber resilience for Microsoft 365. Look, it's 16, there's another stat here as well. It takes about 16 hours for somebody to get from outside into admin access, Active Directory. So we want to make sure that your tenancy is limited to least privilege, that people can not transfer across, and that we can slow that down or even stop it from being able to get through. Look, again, I've sort of already touched on this because of the way I've been explaining it, but just to reinforce the point from what maybe your customers are, perhaps those misconceptions I was talking about before. One of the other misconceptions is that customers believe that their Microsoft is like it was. So, back in 2010, Office 365, it was an application, something, it was a suite. Maybe I think 2010 was still using CD-ROMs around. It was possible to at least use a CD-ROM to do an install, and you install an Office, Word, Excel. I'm old enough to say the good old days, but no, it's not like that anymore, right? I mean, we're 15 years later, and it is an entire platform for your customers' network, which means that it's what you need to secure. And we cannot rely on M365 as a platform with just by hoping that you remember to go in and do configurations. Microsoft is not your security service. They're providing a fantastic platform for you to be able to host your customers' applications, to be able to run their business. But it's you as the IT professional and their IT administrators that have to make sure that all of those settings are set up, configured with security to ensure that they do not lose their data and they do not lose access to their business. It is a platform that you have to consider, and you need a management platform like CoreView to be able to give that platform that cyber resilience it needs to stay up, and in case of disaster, be able to put it back up again. I'll zip through these as well. This is just a sort of a little matrix that we've done as well that you can explain to a customer, and I've sort of gone through these, but the risks on the left, critical identity perimeter. It has a unique collaboration of risks, has powerful privileges, those admin level privileges that perhaps the tools are there to be able to enforce that you can lock them down, but have you? And can you do that at scale? Can you keep on top of that over time? There can be mission critical configurations that could be wrong there. And it's core, again, as I said, it's core to your business operations. You can see what we can do to be able to solve these problems. This is the responses that you can do down the middle, and you can say to the customer, this is something I would, when I'm talking to a customer about the security of their platform, this is a slide I would want to rip off, put into my own presentation. So we need to do all these different levels. I can do that as a service for you. I can do that as a product. I can do that as a professional service. The last few stats that we can sort of put on here as well. You try to do this manually is the other thing that we get. We do get some administrators that go, look, I can use these tools. I can keep an eye on it. I don't want to buy a platform. The scale will kill you in your labor costs. Microsoft's putting out an average of a new configuration every 8 days, I believe it is. So being able to have to go through the entire tenancy of every single customer, every single multiple tenant environment that you've got, looking for changes that Microsoft have put out alone, regardless if somebody else has gone in there and made some changes either by accident or on purpose, it's impossible to stay on top of. But CoreView can with its automation. So this is why you need an automation platform that can enforce your standards and give you those reports rather than you having to build them when they come through. Look, we've had people like, this is outside of the current topic, but we've had people put CoreView in just because they've had to fulfill audit reporting. We can build those reports in minutes that can take you weeks in order to build manually. So that right there is another added bonus, but it also adds to the visibility of that cyber resilience that you've got across the network. It's not enough just to put it in. You need to be able to see that it's been completed. And I mentioned I was going to talk about multiple tenant environments as well. So this is something that more and more customers, even smaller customers, have to deal with. Whether or not you have gone through M&As, smaller companies can, a 200 user business can merge with another 200 user business. And you have two choices. I mean, merging two tenants together is a massive lift in order to do, or you're now managing two completely separate tenancies, and that's two sets of security risks. You can't remember just to do everything to one, you have to do it to the other and have them be interoperable. So you have a choice that you're looking at. Like I can either say consolidated, I can move to consolidate to a single tenancy. So I've only got one set of settings I've got to be able to do. But those segregations and those different teams, those different privileged accesses will now merge together. Or you stay multi-tenant, but now you don't have consistency of configuration. So what CoreView does as well, as part of this cyber resilience model, you can see here, we give you the ability to do that multi-tenant management so that you can have a set of standards, you can apply them to all of your tenancies, and you can have everything report back centrally. So you have this one set of settings, one set of automation but you can manage every single tenancy through this one platform there as well. Even if you have a single tenancy and you want to be able to have multiple teams, multiple groups, we can do virtual tenant segmentation. So this is where we can lock down specific tasks, specific parts, specific roles, rather than having to give admin level access that would then be able to see across an entire organization when maybe that's not what we want to be able to do. So sort of across the bottom here, this is part of that. We're not just giving cyber resilience to a single tenancy here in a simple environment with this single solution. We have the ability to span this across multiple tenancies in those complex environments as well. So again, this is just really reinforcing what we talked about at the start. Again, just to remind you, these 5 different levels: enforce, detect, segment. We can rewind, so that's restore, and we can minimize future issues using CoreView here down the bottom. So into all of these different applications, Entra, your Defender, your Outlook, so the entire M365 platform as well. Okay. I want to wrap up here a little bit just with how do you tie this together, I guess, at a business level point of view, because everything I've just talked about is that really rings true to the security officer, to anybody who's in charge of risk, maybe auditors, anything like that, but definitely just anybody in the business who's worried about risk mitigation, that they understand the technical reasons why you need to be able to make that M365 platform, cyber resilient to attacks and be able to have that restoration. But what we've done just to help, I guess, put this in terms of business as well and trying to simplify the levels is we're kind of borrowing from like levels of compliance that you may have seen, like Essential 8, for instance. We do Essential 8 management, or CIS. And we realize that these controls, they have different levels. And so what we've done is we've tried to put, when you use CoreView, you can take customers through these stages of cyber resilience. So you can do a quick audit with us, see where they're at right now, and then maybe take them to the next step and then the next step, because this is the right way to be able to roll out these this tenant-wide sort of security changes that are required. We don't want to just dump them all out at one hit. We want to be able to progress them through the levels and be able to report that back. So sort of, I'm going to share the slides after this, but really we see the 4 levels in brief is, first of all, start locking down the access. Let's enforce zero trust access. Let's make sure that the usage of those admin accounts is limited to who should be able to use them and for the specific purposes they want. The next is configuration backup. So this is where we want to be able to back up the configs, be able to do those restores quickly. The first one just mitigates people getting in. The second one is, look, if somebody does get in anyway through our best efforts, we have a way of being able to slow down the attackers to do that restoration, that business recovery as well. Then the third level, we're still slowing down the attackers even more, but it's least privilege, and we're monitoring collaboration here. So you can sort of see here that the different levels that we mentioned on the first slide, these dot points, we're going to implement them at stages. And we're going to detect where the potential problems are from external, from maybe those admin roles. We're going to lock down their privilege even more. And then the final level, this is this ongoing management. So 3 gets you to a good state, 4 keeps you there. So this is that ongoing governance and automation. This is where we're looking for, over time, we're going to stop the sprawl and lifecycle management. So we're going to be able to do user access reviews. We've got task-based automation, I mentioned that before, where we can actually lock down. It's not just about the admin role that you have, but we can even lock down people further, where perhaps even though they do administrative tasks, we don't have to give them an admin account at all. So it's not just about zero trust. It's about we're getting to a point of you only use the CoreView platform if that's what you can actually lock it down to, just to do those administrative tasks. And the ongoing checking, has any security changes that we made in steps 1, 2, and 3 drifted away? We can bring it back as well. So this is that level. Like you could think about it as a partner another way. The level 1 is we need to get you here with an assessment and a professional service. So we use CoreView to do that. Level 2 and level 3 are security uplift projects that we take. And level 4 is like selling a managed service. We're going to assess, we're going to build you up with professional services, and then we're going to keep you at secure. So over time, you have that outcome that you're looking for. Okay, and that brings us to the end of the presentation. just a quick little, like, this is everything that we do in CoreView. We love to include these slides at the end. Again, I'm going to share the deck there as well. This is a nice little, like, what does CoreView do as far as scope across all of M365, tenant level to critical workflow management into complex environments. We've spent a lot of time talking about complex environments today, but also it still applies to the standard environments as well to be cyber resilient. And I've also got this here as well. This is a great for a partner who's perhaps providing this as a service or wants to be able to explain to a customer what benefits do they get out of this. Again, this is that virtual tenant segmentation. This is where you can see I'm delivering the top line here. My team is running this to make sure we deliver this top line, maybe in conjunction with your admin teams, and then your users get the benefits. So it's a nice little, again, I wanted to include some presentation materials that enhance yours as well, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel here to explain what you're doing. It's a complex question to some of these customers, and if it's too complex, then they worry that, oh, if I don't understand it, why am I spending money on it? So we try to break this down into really what's in it for them, so they understand that no, that we need to put this in because the cost would be too great to not do it. So we want to make that simple where we understand we need to mitigate this to make sure we don't have that extinction level event. And also not included in here, but you can ask me, we have some ROI guides as well as to what benefits from a money point of view the customer is going to expect around sort of those workflow automations. Not mentioned in this one, like if we do license auditing as well, which is part of our platform that they get for doing the cyber resiliency service, which can sometimes more than pay for the service that they get. And even if they've got like Azure credits, we can talk to you about that as well, where they can use that as we're an Azure platform hosted product. So I'll finish off with this slide here as well. So thanks very much for your time, everybody. If you'd like to trial this out, if you're looking for a next step, register a customer. If you've got a customer in mind that needs to maybe start with a health check audit to see what their current state is. What is their resilience level that they're at today? Should we put in a trial and at least take one backup of their configuration? Before they go ahead and commit money, we can at least give them a health check. We can give them visibility as to what their current tenant state is. So we can see where the dangers are, they can see where the dangers are, and then together you can use our reports to really make a plan for what resilience levels need to be put in for them, so to make sure that they are not at risk of losing their data. And again, why us versus anything else? Because we'd be one platform to do it. If you try and do anything else, you're solving a very point solution. I'm sure many other solutions out there can do very niche things. Think CoreView for entire M365 management, just one platform over the top to be able to manage all that Microsoft investment that they've got. We don't want you to have 5, 6, 10 different tools for 10 different use cases. This is why we talk cyber resilience is a very high level, all-encompassing requirement for a customer for their M365. Do not make this too complex, and don't pay for many, many different systems, which can all add up in costs that can become astronomical. Put us in with one cost, keep it down, and keep it centralized. But again, try it. Go ahead, use the QR code, use the link on here as well. Register this customer. We can give them a trial. We can give you a price with some additional margins as well, beyond what somebody would get just coming in off the street. We can make sure that we work together with you to make sure that customer sees the value first under free trial, and then goes ahead and can buy through you as well, so that we can implement and have you run it with them to make sure they're more secure. So with that, I hope that's been a tight, I believe, about 30 minutes in the end. So apologies, I went a little bit more than 120 that I was hoping for, but I hope that was very useful to you. This has been very successful for a lot of our customers around the world recently, just having this central view. I'll sort of pause here for the end of the recording, just see if there's any sort of last minute questions, anything like that. So just stop the sharing. Sorry. Apologies, I've only got one screen, so just need to. Okay, keep that so I can load up the chat here as well. So just some final stuff in here as well, just on the Q&A. 1 second. Andrew, I've got your message. You've emailed me about this one before. I am working on this sort of crossover for you as well. So, yeah, apologies. We're hoping to get an answer back about this. We've got a few existing customers. We're trying to move from the DevOps version to the SaaS version. It's just about straight up. It's just about some mappings in the back end that we have that we weren't considering before. So what we're first trying to do is just get you a copy of the SaaS version so you can try it, because I assume you wanted to try it first. But yeah, we're just working on a technical solution to this. So please stand by. I have got your question, and I've got a few other customers in the same boat as you. So I do apologise for that, but I'll hit you up in private. But I think that's the main question that's sort of come through here. Usually when we do these sort of about how we go to market, there's not too many questions usually come through. Again, the main thing I want to be able to do for everybody still on the line is, yeah, I've got a couple of other just two more questions sort of popped through on the same question. Yes, some of our existing partners. It's not just limited to Andrew or any specific person. It's if we've already mapped you through. No, thank you. It's anybody who's been provisioned by us. It was within like a yearly time frame. The way that we provision the back end, it's sort of limiting us having two of the same solution, but one SaaS being one and one being DevOps at the same time. So we're working on a technical solution for that. So apologies. And again, we're working on first. We'll get you a free trial for it, because everybody has a right to try for free before they decide they want to make any changes. And then we'll have a solution if you do want to move over there, how you'll be able to do that as well. So just please bear with us. It's when I say mapping, it's not just one little thing. It's sort of like we've got to untangle a few things so that we can get you access again. But I will say this on there. I do have a workaround, is that if for trialing, if you have another if you have another Microsoft tenancy that you haven't connected before, I can basically connect that as a free version, so that you can at least try it. Again, like, I'm not going to charge you for anything to do that. I want you to test it first. But the idea is that will help you get through while we work out how we can do a sort of a migration, a cross mapping. If you do decide, okay, after I've used the SaaS version, I really like this a lot more. Most people that have been able to look have gone yes, because I don't like having to host DevOps anymore. But yeah, I can do that for you as well. But yeah, I just need to be. I'm hoping to get a lot more details about this. I've already got one guide on how to do this. If you had a trial, so that unmapping. But yeah, just if you've got it already in place. Okay. But yeah, thanks for your understanding. I think I owe a few people a beer because of this technical issue. But another question: can we get the SaaS version for doing a tenancy review? If I give you the free version, you would be able to do under the free version, or if I give you a free copy, you would be able to connect another client, another customer's client, and do a review on that while I'm giving you the free version. So yeah. Okay. But it's good to be able to catch up with some existing clients here. I do owe you, so please just bear with us as well. I want to make sure that I get you more than just please stand by. But yeah, as soon as we have some good like how to move over process, I'll share that through, because I know I've got a lot of existing clients who really want to try out the SaaS version, especially after the last webinar as well. We had a lot of interest. So all right, I'll wrap it up there. But thanks very much for your time, everybody, and I'll talk to you soon.